Most people go through life reacting to everything, every comment, every attitude, every attempt someone makes to get inside their head. And they don't even realize that the real battle isn't happening around them. It's happening inside them. The moment you let someone disturb your peace, you hand them the keys to your emotions. But the moment you learn to stay calm, composed, and centered, even when someone is trying to push your buttons, you instantly rise above the game they're trying to pull you into. Staying unmanipulated isn't about being cold or distant. It's about knowing your worth so deeply that no one's tone, tactic, or pressure can hijack your mind. Because when you stop reacting, when you stop giving people power over your emotions, you become someone they can't control, can't intimidate, and can't shake. Calm is not silence, it's strength. And the world feels that strength the second you stand in it. Calm is one of the most misunderstood forms of strength because most people grow up thinking power looks loud, aggressive, or dominant, but real power is the ability to remain centered when everything around you is trying to pull you off balance. When you choose calm, you're not choosing passivity. You are choosing control over your inner world. You're choosing to respond from clarity instead of reacting from impulse. In moments where people expect you to snap, crumble, or lose your composure, staying calm disrupts the entire dynamic. It sends a message that you're grounded, that you're anchored in yourself, and that your emotions aren't available for someone else to play with. This is where calm becomes a power move, because the person who controls their emotions controls the direction of the interaction. Most forms of manipulation rely on provoking a reaction, whether it's anger, fear, guilt, or pressure. When you stay calm, you remove the very foundation that manipulation depends on. The moment someone realizes they can't pull you into their emotional lane, they have nothing left to work with. Calm gives you time to think, observe, and understand what's really happening instead of getting trapped in the chaos of the moment. While others rush to defend themselves or fight back without understanding the situation, calm allows you to see the intention behind the behavior, the patterns in their tone, and the motives they don't say out loud. People often mistake calm for weakness because they assume silence means surrender, but silence can be strategy. Calm can be the space where you gather your thoughts, where you choose your next move with purpose instead of pressure. When someone can't predict your emotions, they can't predict your choices. That unpredictability becomes another layer of power because you're no longer easy to read or easy to influence. Calm also protects your energy. It stops you from giving away too much of yourself to people who don't deserve a reaction. Every time you stay composed, you remind yourself that your peace is something you guard, not something you give away freely. Calm doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you don't let those feelings run the interaction. It means you understand that reacting quickly might feel satisfying in the moment, but responding with intention always puts you in a stronger position. Calm is the space where your confidence grows, where your presence becomes heavier, where your words land stronger because they come from a place of control rather than chaos. And the more you choose that calm, the more unshakable you become. And the more people start to adjust their behavior around you because they know they can't pull you into the emotional traps they set for others. And eventually they realize that the quiet strength you carry is something they can't bend or break no matter. What they try people can only manipulate what they can emotionally disturb. And this is where most people unknowingly give away their power. Manipulation doesn't start with someone's words. It starts with your emotional reaction to those words. The moment someone knows what triggers you, what scares you, what frustrates you, or what makes you feel insecure, they gain a map to your emotions. And once they have that map, they know exactly which buttons to press to get the outcome they want. This is why emotional stability is more than just a personality trait. It's a shield. When you learn to manage your emotional reactions, you close the doors that manipulators look for. Most manipulation is subtle. It doesn't always show up as direct pressure or obvious tactics. Sometimes it hides in guilt trips, silent treatment, exaggerated dramatics, sudden compliments followed by demands, or pretending to be hurt just to make you bend. But every one of those tactics relies on one thing: your emotional response. If you feel guilt, they win. If you feel fear, they win. If you feel rushed, they win. If you feel the need to explain yourself endlessly, they win. But when you stay emotionally steady, when you pause instead of reacting, when you don't give them the emotional spike they're reaching for, their tactics lose power instantly. Emotional disturbance creates confusion, and confusion is where people lose control. When you're emotionally shaken, your thinking becomes cloudy, your decisions become reactive, and our boundaries become weak. You're not choosing from strength, you're choosing from discomfort. This is exactly why manipulators push emotional pressure. They want you off balance because an off-balance person is easier to steer. But when you maintain emotional stillness, when you don't let their words provoke panic or insecurity, you stay in control of your reasoning. You can see their intention instead of getting stuck in the intensity of the moment. You start recognizing patterns, how they shift tones, how they exaggerate problems, how they twist narratives, how they use timing to their advantage. And once you see the pattern, the manipulation loses its mystery. Being unmanipulated isn't about being detached or uncaring. It's about being grounded enough that someone else's emotional strategy can't reach the core of you. It's the ability to hear something without absorbing it, to notice someone's behavior without letting it dictate your own, to stand in your truth even when someone tries to shake it. When someone realizes they can't emotionally disturb you, they lose the one tool that makes manipulation possible. You become someone they can't push, can't guilt, can't pressure, and can't confuse because your emotional center is not something they can access or control. Emotional distance is not about being cold, detached, or disconnected from people. It's about creating enough internal space to see situations clearly instead of getting tangled in the emotional noise around you. When you keep a healthy distance, you're not shutting people out. You're simply refusing to let their energy, their mood, or their intentions blur your judgment. Most people fall into manipulation because they get too emotionally close to the moment. They absorb every tone, every facial expression, every shift in attitude, and before they know it, they're reacting to something that was never fully understood. Emotional distance allows you to observe first and respond later. It gives you the advantage of seeing the full picture instead of getting trapped in the intensity of one moment. When you're emotionally too close, everything feels personal. Someone's stress feels like your fault. Someone's disappointment feels like your responsibility. Someone's anger feels like an attack on your worth. But emotional distance breaks that illusion. It reminds you that not everything is about you, and not every emotional wave requires you to jump in and fix it. With distance, you can listen without absorbing, understand without inheriting, and care without being controlled. This is what gives you clarity. You see what someone is saying and also what they're trying to achieve with their words. You notice the difference between a genuine concern and a manipulative tactic. You hear the request beneath the drama, the intention beneath the tone, the strategy beneath the anger. You're no longer blinded by emotion, so you can recognize truth versus influence. People who lack emotional distance often feel overwhelmed because they let everything hit them at full force. Every argument feels like a threat, every disagreement feels like rejection, and every tough conversation feels like a crisis. But distance lowers the impact. It's like stepping back from a loudspeaker. You can still hear the message, but it's no longer blasting in your face. From that space, you gain the ability to choose your reaction instead of being dragged into one. Emotional distance also strengthens your boundaries. When you're not drowning in someone else's emotions, you can say no without feeling guilty, you can pause without feeling pressured, and you can make decisions based on logic instead of fear. People who try to manipulate you quickly realize they can't hook you emotionally because you're not giving them the access they need. Instead of reacting on command, you stay centered, grounded, and thoughtful, and this instantly removes their ability to steer your behavior. Emotional distance protects your peace, sharpens your awareness, and keeps you anchored in your own truth even when someone else tries to pull you into theirs. Your responses shape your personal authority more than someone's intentions. And this is where real self-control begins. Most people give too much credit to what others say or do, as if someone else's attitude automatically determines how they should feel. But the truth is, your response is the real deciding factor. Two people can face the same criticism, the same pressure, or the same attempt at manipulation, and one walks away shaken while the other walks away unbothered. The difference isn't what was said to them, it's how they chose to respond. Your response is your signature. It tells people what you allow, what you tolerate, and how much influence they have over your inner world. The calmer, clearer, and more intentional your response is, the more authority you build without even trying. People often underestimate how much power they possess in those small moments where they choose what to say, how to act, and what to give their energy to. When someone tries to provoke you, they're expecting a reaction. They're expecting you to defend yourself, raise your voice, get emotional, or fall into their narrative. But when you respond with steady composure, when you don't rush to explain yourself or match their intensity, you break their strategy. Your response becomes a boundary all by itself. It communicates that you won't play the game they're trying to start, that you won't give them the emotional fuel they're looking for, and that you stand firm in your own mindset. This kind of authority doesn't come from force. It comes from self-control. A powerful response doesn't have to be long, clever, or harsh. Sometimes it's silence. Sometimes it's a calm question. Sometimes it's a simple statement of fact. Sometimes it's choosing to walk away. What matters isn't the style of your response, but the intention behind it. When your response comes from clarity instead of impulse, you automatically gain the upper hand because you're directing your energy instead of letting someone else direct it for you. Over time, people start treating you differently because they realize you're not someone who reacts out of emotion. You're someone who responds from strength. Your responses also shape your identity in your own eyes. Every time you stay composed, every time you choose intention over reaction, you reinforce your self-respect. You prove to yourself that you are in control of your emotions, not controlled by them. This builds confidence, inner stability, and a quiet kind of dominance that doesn't need to be spoken. And the more consistent you become with your responses, the harder it becomes for anyone to manipulate you, push you, or throw you off balance because your authority is built from the inside out. Mastering calm is mastering yourself, and mastering yourself is what makes you truly unshakable. Most people spend their entire lives trying to control everything outside of them. Other people's opinions, their reactions, their attitudes, their choices. Yet the real strength comes from controlling what's within. When you understand your own emotions, when you recognize your triggers, when you know how to pause before reacting, you develop a level of inner authority that no one can take away from you. Calm becomes your anchor, your compass, your shield. It keeps you grounded in situations that would normally overwhelm you, and it helps you think clearly when others get trapped in chaos. This kind of calm doesn't happen overnight. It's built through awareness, understanding what sets you off, and learning how to step back instead of being pulled in. It's built through discipline, training your mind to respond slower, observe deeper, and choose wisely. And it's built through confidence, trusting that you don't need to prove anything through loud reactions or emotional outbursts. When you master yourself, you master the way you move in the world. You no longer get swept away by other people's expectations or attempts to influence your behavior. Instead, you move from intention, not impulse. People start noticing when you carry this type of calm. They may not always understand it, but they feel it. They feel the steadiness in your tone, the quiet strength in your presence, the way you don't get pulled into unnecessary drama. You become someone who thinks before reacting, someone who values peace over winning arguments, someone who sees through emotional games instead of falling for them. This is real power. It's not loud, it's not showy, it's not aggressive. It's controlled, deliberate, and deeply rooted. And because it comes from within, it can't be taken by anyone on the outside. When you master yourself, you also master how much access people have to you. You don't let their moods dictate your day. You don't let their insecurities become your responsibilities. You don't let their emotional swings drag you into battles that don't serve you. You begin to choose your energy wisely, your words carefully, and your reactions intentionally. This protects you from manipulation because the moment someone realizes they can't shake you, they lose the ability to control you. Calm becomes your armor, clarity becomes your strength, and self-mastery becomes your advantage in every interaction you walk into. So if you found this message helpful, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.